To maintain baseline stability, the modern global economy requires roughly 100 million barrels of oil every single day. This volume fuels everything from heavy industry to local logistics networks. A massive percentage of this energy originates in the Middle East, where a handful of nations pump the majority of the world's daily oil and gas supply from beneath the desert and the seabed. To reach international buyers, this energy relies on continuous maritime shipping. It travels via a constant convoy of tankers that form a physical conveyor belt connecting Gulf producers to global markets. The entire modern economic system operates on the assumption that this specific geographic flow of ships will never stop. That assumption shattered on February 28, 2026. Following U.S. and Israeli military strikes, Iranian leadership issued an immediate retaliatory warning, prohibiting all vessel passage through the region's southern waters. Commercial shipping traffic and energy exports out of the Persian Gulf stopped abruptly. Captains and fleet managers dropped anchor in regional ports, unwilling to move until the threat subsided. A localized conflict had physically severed a primary energy corridor, forcing regional maritime trade to an immediate and total halt. The geography of the Persian Gulf creates a natural bottleneck. To reach the open ocean, every ship must pass through the Strait of Hormuz, the only maritime exit for the region's producers. At its narrowest point, the strait spans 21 miles. Because of shallow water and coastal obstacles, the actual navigable lanes are just 2 miles wide. 20 million barrels of crude oil pass through daily. LNG is natural gas supercooled into a liquid state so it can be transported on specialized ships rather than through fixed pipelines. By concentrating 1/5 of the world's energy into a 2-mile lane, geography has created a single point of failure for the global economy. Iranian forces maintained the blockade using asymmetric tactics, a combination of isolated drone strikes, radio warnings, and swarms of fast attack craft. The threat of these attacks caused war risk insurance premiums to skyrocket. This makes transit financially impossible for commercial fleets, effectively closing the strait through economic pressure even when no ships are being actively struck. Saudi Arabia and the UAE possess overland bypass pipelines designed to move crude oil to the Red Sea, circumspecting the strait entirely. But the capacity of these pipelines is mathematically insufficient. Their combined maximum output is less than 5 million barrels per day, nowhere near enough to offset the 20 million barrels lost at the strait. The blockade relies on the credible threat of disruption rather than military dominance, and existing infrastructure cannot solve the resulting supply gap. To measure the impact of the closure, we have to follow the energy to its intended destinations. The primary victims are major Asian economies, China, India, Japan, and South Korea, who rely on the strait for their energy imports. With global supply trapped, energy markets reacted instantly. Benchmark crude oil prices spiked, breaching the critical $100 per barrel threshold within days. The secondary effects include soaring inflation and increased freight costs as ships reroute around Africa to avoid the region. These pressures have increased the risk of a synchronized global recession. By closing a regional geographic choke point, the conflict has effectively levied a devastating economic tax on every nation on Earth. The 2026 crisis proves that a nation does not need a massive blue water navy to successfully hold the global supply chain hostage. Geographic placement can neutralize traditional military superiority, allowing a well-positioned actor to disrupt global energy security at a relatively low cost. In a hyper-connected economy, geographic positioning determines global trade stability, leaving the world's energy supply dependent on the security of 21 miles of water.